جاهزين نبتدي يا استاذه نبيل؟
تمام يا دكتور.
طيب، مساء الخير عليكم ومساء الخير على الساده الحضور من الشركات، اعضاء المجلس والمهتمين بصادرات الصناعات الغذائيه المصريه. اهلا وسهلا بحضراتكم في ندوه جديده من الندوات اللي بينظمها المجلس كل يوم اربع. بس للاسف مش الساعه 10 صباحا زي ما حضراتكم متعودين. النهارده بنبتدي الساعه 2 الظهر، نظرا لفرق التوقيت مع الولايات المتحده الامريكيه. بيسعدنا ويشرفنا ان احنا نتكلم في احد الموضوعات اللي احنا شايفين ان هي مهمه جدا وعليها طلب كبير من الشركات الاعضاء، اللي هو موضوع تسجيل المنشآت الغذائيه باداره الغذاء والدواء الامريكيه، الاف دي اي، وازاي يكون عندك ريجستريشن نمبر في الاف دي اي. الندوه دي بتيجي بالتعاون بين المجلس ومشروع تريد. وبنتشرف ان يكون معانا النهارده الدكتور محمود عماره، استشاري اول سلامه الغذاء في مشروع تريد. الحقيقه دكتور محمود والتيم اللي معاه من انشط التيمز اللي احنا اشتغلنا فيها مع مشروعات تنمويه في مصر في مجال سلامه الغذاء، وفي مجال دعم الشركات المصريه وفتح الاسواق التصديريه المختلفه. والحقيقه احنا بنشير معاهم سكسيس ستوري في لجنه من اللجان المتخصصه في فتح الأسواق الخارجية اللي ليها علاقة بسلامة الغذاء مع مختلف الدول، سواء الاتحاد الأوروبي، الصين، جنوب أفريقيا، البرازيل، وغيرها من الدول والملفات المختلفة اللي احنا شغالين عليها، بالتنسيق طبعا مع الهيئة القومية لسلامة الغذاء الحجر البيطري في وزارة الزراعة. وطبعا بنتشرف يكون موجود معانا الدكتور محمود رضوان، اخصائي سلامة الغذاء بمشروع تريد. بنشكره كمان على المجهودات الخاصة بحضرته، يعني فيما يتعلق بملفات الشركات أعضاء المجلس الخاصة بسلامة الغذاء. طبعا وبتشرف يكون موجود معانا النهارده بروفيسور دكتور جون سيلفا. دكتور جون he's working in the Department of Food Science, Nutrition and Health Promotion, Mississippi State University. أهلا وسهلا. Welcome دكتور جون. We have the pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Dawi. Thank you and
Thank
good
you.
afternoon to everyone.
You're welcome. بالنسبه للبرنامج بتاعنا النهارده، انا هبتدي كده في اقل من 5 دقائق ان هايلايت السوق الامريكي اهميته. انا عارف ان حضراتكم عارفين اهميه السوق، ولكن بحيث ان يكون التسجيل ده بتاعنا النهارده ريفرنس لاي حد بيدور على المعلومات خاصه بالسوق الامريكي. والانترودكشن الصغيره اللي هنتكلم فيها هتهايلايت واحنا ليه بنعمل هذا الفوكس على السوق الامريكي، وبدايته ان انا هدخل السوق ان انا يكون عندي ريجستريشن نمبر في الاف دي اي. بعد المقدمه هنسيب الفلور لدكتور محمود عماره يكمل معانا الجزء المودريشن خاص بالجزء التكنيكال فيما يتعلق باجراءات التسجيل والاجراءات الخاصه بسلامه الغذاء، والرد على استفسارات واسئله حضراتكم. ودكتور محمود وعد ان هو هيكون في ملخص للي هيتم تقديمه النهارده في الندوه بشكل مبسط، وهيكون في خطوات واضحه لاجراءات وعمليه التسجيل والفتره الزمنيه وايه اللينكات اللي حضرتك بتستخدمها وكل التفاصيل المتعلقه باجراءات التسجيل. نيجي مع حضراتكم نبذه سريعه عن اهميه السوق الامريكي بالنسبه لقطاع الصناعات الغذائيه المصري. ولو هنتكلم على اخر بيانات المجلس نشرها اللي هي صادرات قطاع الصناعات الغذائيه في الفتره من يناير ليوليو 2024، اول 7 شهور، صادرات الصناعات الغذائيه وصلت ل 3.7 مليار دولار. 3.7 مليار دولار بنسبه نمو تقريبا 23% مقارنه بنفس الفتره من سنه 2023. بالنسبه للسوق الامريكي فهو بيمثل 5% من اجمالي الصادرات خلال الفتره دي بقيمه حوالي 191 مليون دولار. والحقيقه ان نسبه النمو اعلى حتى من معدلات النمو الاجماليه للقطاع. نسبه النمو لصادراتنا للسوق الامريكي اول 5 شهور من عام 2024 وصلت ل 32%. بوتنشال كبير جدا، وخصوصا لما نيجي نبص على عدد الشركات اللي صدرت اكتر من مليون دولار خلال ال7 شهور للسوق الامريكي، هنلاقي في تنوع في 41 شركه مصريه صدرت منتجات غذائيه للسوق الامريكي، منتجات غذائيه مصنعه. باكثر من مليون دولار. طبعا السوق الامريكي بياخد كل المنتجات الغذائيه من مصر، من الاسواق اللي ما فيهاش ريستريكشنز كتيره على اغلب المنتجات المصريه. يمكن اكتر سوق مفتوح اكتر بكتير من اسواق الاتحاد الاوروبي، واكتر بكتير كمان من بعض الدول الموجوده في الخليج. وده باين في الاستراكشر بتاع المنتجات اللي مصر بتصدرها اول 7 شهور. نلاقي على راس القائمه الفراوله المجمده 25 مليون دولار. الاسماك وخصوصا الاستاكوزا المياه العذبه وغيرها من القشريات والاسماك 21 مليون دولار. محضرات الخضر حوالي 20 مليون دولار. زيتون مائده ب 19 مليون دولار. خضار مجمد 17 مليون دولار. بطاطس مجمده 13 مليون دولار. ملح 12 مليون دولار. عصاير 9 مليون دولار. خماير 8 مليون دولار. زيوت عطريه حوالي 7.3 مليون دولار. خضار مخلل 5 مليون دولار. بالقائمه طويله الحقيقه. مش بس كده، لما جينا نبص على السوق الامريكي، هو السوق الامريكي اكبر مستورد للغذاء في العالم. امريكا هي اكبر مستورد للغذاء في العالم. ارقامها بتوصل لحوالي 160 مليار دولار في السنه كواردات. السوق الامريكي بيمثل تقريبا ما لا يقل عن 10% من واردات العالم من الغذاء. وفي رغبه لدى المستهلك والمستورد والحكومه الامريكيه، خصوصا بعد المشاكل اللي حصلت في توقف سلاسل الامداد بالغذاء بعد الحرب الروسيه الاوكرانيه، وقبلها الهزه اللي حصلت عالميا في سلاسل الامداد بعد الكوفيد. دي كلها حاجات اثرت على الدول، وخصوصا الدول الكبيره، ان هي تبتدي تنوع في مصادر الغذاء الخاصه بيها. والحقيقه دي فرصه كبيره جدا بالنسبه لمصر والشركات المصريه، ان هي يكون ليها فرصه وتواجد اكبر داخل السوق الامريكي، مع مجموعه او حزم من المميزات اللي بيقدمها السوق الامريكي للمصدر المصري، على راسها اتفاقيه الكويز والجي اس بي. فعندنا آليتين نقدر ندخل بيهم السوق الامريكي، سواء بصفر جمارك او بجمارك مخفضه. زائد كمان ان اسعار الشحن حاليا في نوع من انواع الاستقرار في اسعار الشحن للسوق الامريكي. السوق الامريكي سوق عملاق، عدد كبير جدا من السكان بنتعامل معاه على اساس ان هي قاره وليس دوله. فدي كلها مبررات تخلينا نبتدي نركز اكتر على السوق الامريكي. بننصح الشركات ان هي تتوجه للسوق الامريكي بشكل اكبر. السوق الامريكي اسهل من التصدير لدول الاتحاد الاوروبي وبعض دول الخليج زي السعوديه. السوق الامريكي الاشتراطات بتاعته مش صعبه ومش معقده، وده اللي هيوضحه الزملاء النهارده في الندوه. وبننصح حضراتكم ان انتم تركزوا اكتر على الانشطه التسويقيه اللي بتتم داخل السوق الامريكي، زي معرض سمر فانسي فود في نيويورك، ووينتر فانسي فود، وغيرها من الانشطه التسويقيه والترويجيه. ومن امريكا طبعا من الدول اللي احنا عندنا فيها مكتب تمثيل تجاري من ستة. اتمنى ان انا ما اكونش اطلت عليكم، ولكن يعني كانت مقدمه مهمه بالنسبه لكثير من الشركات اللي بتسمعنا، اللي تعرف أهمية السوق الأمريكي وتعرف إن في فرص كبيرة للنمو والتواجد داخل السوق، وفي رغبة لرؤية المنتجات المصرية، خصوصا بعد النجاحات الكبيرة اللي بتعملها بعض القطاعات زي الفراولة المجمدة. الفراولة المجمدة يمكن إحنا في كل سنة الماركت شير بتاعنا بيعلى بشكل كبير داخل السوق الأمريكي. الفراولة المجمدة متوسطات الأسعار بتاعتها الأعلى في العالم تقريبا، في أمريكا بتوصل لحوالي 2300 دولار متوسط سعر الطن اللي بيدفعه المستهلك او المستورد الامريكي. وبنسبه تقريبا 50% جايه من المكسيك. بنسعى ان احنا نزود اسعارنا وتواجد بشكل كبير. اخر حوالي 5 سنين معدلات النمو بتاعتنا في قطاع الفراوله المجمده داخل السوق الامريكي بتزيد باكثر من 75% سنويا. وده رقم بياخد من الماركت شير للليدنج كونتريز داخل السوق زي المكسيك وزي دول لاتين امريكا. لا أطيل على حضراتكم، وهندي الكلمة دلوقتي لزميلنا وصديقنا العزيز الدكتور محمود عمارة. دكتور محمود، الفلور از يورز.
شكرا صديقي العزيز دكتور تميم، بشكرك جدا على الانترو الجميله دي كالعاده. برحب بحضراتكم جميعا الحاضرين معنا النهارده ان شاء الله في الويبينار. برحب طبعا بالماي فريند اند اور اكسبرت دكتور جوان سيلفا. يعني most welcome and our pleasure having you in such webinar building the capacities of Egyptian exports to access US market. Thank you so much for being in. بشكر حضراتكم جدا على اهتمامكم بالحضور والمشاركة. الحقيقة يعني استكمالا اللي قاله تميم، أهمية السوق الأمريكي بالنسبة لقطاع صادرات الصناعات الغذائية المصرية. في شركات كتيرة بتحاول إن هي تأكسس الماركت، في شركات موجودة في الماركت في السوق الأمريكي، ولكن بيقابلهم بعض التحديات. في بعض الشركات بيكون عندها مشكلة في requirements بتاعت الكلاينت أو compliance أو regulations compliance بالنسبة لل FDA requirements. ففكرنا إن إحنا إزاي نعمل حاجة تبقى more sustainable، يبقى عندنا حاجه رود ماب واضحه كده ازاي كل الشركات المصريه بنساعدها ان يبقوا فاهمين بشكل كويس جدا معايير او اليات الدخول للسوق الامريكي فيما يتعلق بالاف دي اي كومبلينس للفيزما رولز وريجوليشنز. فكان اول حاجه فكرنا فيها ان احنا عمليه التسجيل الاف دي اي ريجستريشن. الاف دي اي ريجستريشن واحده من ضمن الاساسيات اللي لازم حضرتك كمصدر او هتبقى سبلاير لكلاينت طبعا هناك في السوق الامريكي انك تكون ريجستر في الاف دي اي. طيب في بعض الشركات مشكوره اجتهدت وبتشتغل وبتسجل لنفسها، وفي بعض الشركات بتلجا الى ثيرد بارتي، ولكن في بعض الاحيان محتاجين ان احنا كلنا نكون فاهمين البروسيس بتمشي ازاي، ايه المطلوب في عمليه التسجيل الخاصه بالاف دي اي، عشان اي حد فينا مصدر حابب يدخل السوق ويأكسس الماركت الامريكي يبقى عارف ان هو ازاي يقدر يتولى خطوات التسجيل بنفسه، او على الاقل حتى لو استعان باي حد اوت سورس يبقى فاهم برضه كمان البروسيس ماشيه ازاي، البروسيس ستاك فين، هل في مشكله مثلا في دانس نمبر، هل في مشكله في حاجه معينه. ده الهدف من الويبينار النهارده. الدكتور جوان سيلفا بقدمه لحضراتكم، هو واحد من الاكسبرتس اللي بيتعاون معانا في مشروع تريد. الحقيقه هو بروفيسور اولا للفود بروسيسنج في ميسيسيبي يونيفرسيتي، وبيشتغل كمان فود سيفتي كونسلتنت، تحديدا اكتر حاجه كومبليانس للفيزما ريكويرمنتس، سواء ليد انستراكتور للبي سي كيو اي بروجرامز وحاجات ثانيه كتيره متعلقه بالفيزما كومبليانس. فهو بيشرفنا ان هو يكون موجود معانا النهارده عشان نستعرض مع حضراتكم خطوات التسجيل في الاف دي اي بالنسبه للمنشآت بتاعتنا. بلس كمان زي ما قال تميم ان احنا برضو ان شاء الله بنجهز جايدنس كده بسيط عشان المجلس ان شاء الله، المجلس التصديري يبعتوا لحضراتكم لكل المسجلين لكل اعضاء المجلس عموما ان شاء الله، عشان يبقى واضح معاهم خطوات التسجيل دوكيومنتد بكل اللينكس المطلوب تدخل عليها وتقدر ان انت تتم عمليه التسجيل بكل نجاح. عايز انوه برضو كمان ان احنا ان شاء الله هيبقى عندنا ويبينار تاني قريب، بس لسه هنحدده ان شاء الله خلال الفتره اللي جايه فيما يتعلق ب الريتنشن ليست او الديتنشن ليست الخاصه بالاف دي اي. الديتنشن ليست لما يكون بعض الشركات عندها مشكله في الكومبلينس الخاص بالاف دي اي بيحصل لها ديتنشن نتيجه لان بيكون مثلا في بعض الفايوليشنز متعلقه ببعض الاديتيفز، متعلقه بالريجستريشن، متعلقه بالاكسبورتنج سيرتيفيكتس او غيره. طب ازاي نقدر نخرج من الديتنشن ليست دي؟ ازاي ان احنا نقدر نتبع الكومبلينس ريكويرمنتس بتاعت الاف دي اي؟ ده ان شاء الله هيكون ليتر اون هو موضوع الويبينار اللي جاي والجايدنس اللي هيطلع برضه ان شاء الله. في النهايه بنحاول نساعد اعضاء المجلس التصديري عموما وكل المصدرين المصريين لقطاع الصناعات الغذائيه اللي بيبصوا ناحيه السوق الامريكي لاهميته ان هو ازاي يتوافق مع متطلبات الاف دي اي. وده الهدف من الدعم الفني اللي احنا بنقدمه كمشروع تريد، ازاي ان هو يكون مستدام بشكل افضل كل المصدرين والقطاع التصديري يستفيد منه. مش هطول اكتر من كده، هنبدا ان شاء الله الاستعراض الكونتنت بتاعنا الخاص بالويبينار النهارده عشان نقدر في اخر الويبينار نكون فاهمين ان شاء الله الريجستريشن بروسيس بتتم ازاي. دكتور جوان ان شاء الله هيتولى الشرح، طبعا هيكون باللغه الانجليزيه. هنحاول ان شاء الله وزميلي الدكتور محمود رضوان بين كل فتره والثانيه تو باونس بتوين يعني عربي وانجلش لانجويج عشان بس نوضح لبعض الحاجات الاساسيه كده. وفي النهايه هنعمل رابط برضه بشكل سريع وهنستقبل اي استفسارات ان شاء الله. Dr. Juan, our pleasure having you. Floor is yours. Can start it now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahmoud Emara. And thank you everyone for being with us this afternoon. And I will be sharing the presentation with you on the chat, and also Dr. Mahmoud Harabwan also has it for you. I will also be sharing some other things. So it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to the Export Council also for hosting. And I'll be starting the presentation, and please let me know if you can see it. Make sure. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's good. If you can to zoom out, it will be great.
Zoom out.
Yeah, to be slide sharing.
Let me see. Now? Do you see a zoom?
Yeah, it's good for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you see it there, Dr. Mahmoud? Okay, thank you. Sorry, just to make sure. Okay, so we are going to go through the process of registration of your facility, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about some other things that you need to keep in mind and what information you need to have for the registration of your food facility. Okay, so this process will cover why you have to register. Is required by the FDA if you are a facility that exports to the U.S. foods to the U.S. that are under the FDA. We'll talk about some other registrations, like if you are a canning facility, for example, whether it's low acid or acidified foods, for example, you have another type of registration, which is your food canning establishment and the processes that you undergo. So that's a different type of registration. We'll also touch upon, many people, many agents here in the US and elsewhere want to have you register through them. And of course, it's a business and you can do that, but we'll talk about that. Then we'll talk about what information you need to have to compile before you start your registration. It's good to compile the information that you need. So there's a paper form that I will share with you that can help you see what information you need that will go through the presentation. That way you are prepared to it. And part of that information will be the DUNS number, which is the unique facility identifier, and the US agent. And we'll talk about that. Then we'll go through the registration process. And finally, we'll talk about some other things that you may have questions. So the dynamic, if you have a question, you can post it, you can ask, or we'll have a time at the end of the presentation for it. So FFR stands for Food Facility Registration. The FDA likes to have a lot of acronyms. UFI stands for Unique Facility Identifier. One of those unique facility identifiers can be the DUNS number. This number here, DUNS number. So we'll talk about that. DUNS number comes from a company called Duns and Bradstreet, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. So just for you to be aware of some of the things we are going to talk about. Okay. So the first thing with FDA is that you need to have a login, just like any other system. Like in my university, I need to have a login and a password. So in your institution, in your industry, you probably have to have a login and password. So for FDA, no matter what, for registration purposes or other purposes, you need to have a login. And the login is in what they call the food industry systems. This is a page you see here, or is called the Unified Registration and Listing System. So basically, if you want to do business with the FDA or whatever, do some registration of something, you need to have a login and password access to the FDA. So one of those is the food facility registration. You can also do your food canning establishment, your process filings. All of those go through this system. So you need to register with this system. If we have time towards the end, then at the end, I'll show you the screens of this system. Okay, so going to the registration of your food facility, once you have obtained your login in the food industry systems, that is your FDA login and password, then once you create that, then you look for a DUNS number or a unique facility identifier. You need that. Is required because it's going to ask you for it. It was not required before, but now it's required. So I'll talk a little bit when I get to that. A unique facility identifier tells the FDA exactly where your facility, where you make the food that's going to be exported to the US and commercialized in the US is located. It's like a GPS coordinate, but it's done through this company, Dun and Bradstreet. And then you add your facility registration account, okay? So there's a food facility registration user guide, and I'll share that with you, no problem. So let's go back to how you start the process. So you go to the food industry systems web page on the FDA website. So if you Google or whatever food industry systems FDA, you'll get to this page. And in this page, it'll come up food industry systems. If you don't have an account, then it'll say create an account. You log in there. Once you log in, then you create the account. You go through the process of creating the account. So there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, you're going to use who is going to do it. And it has to be someone that's the owner or the operator or the agent in charge in the facility. Someone that has authority, but also someone if it is an employee of yours, you need to make sure that you also have access to the password, that information. Because
Sorry for interruption
go
here.
ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are we still in slide number 1, or you have moved for other slides? Because still freezing at slide number 1 for the presentation.
Oh, still in slide number 1?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. Let me make sure. Sorry. Let's do this.
Take your time.
Now, you can see the complete slide set?
Not yet.
So if I move, you see it now, Dr. Mahmoud?
No, not yet. I don't have already the slides there. No slide deck is available. No slide deck already. No slide deck anymore. There is no any slides.
There's no slides. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, now it's in the slide number 2 for outline.
Now you see it? If I move, you see slide number 3?
Acronyms, types
now
of
you
the
see
registration.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay. Let's go back. Sorry.
Okay.
So I was telling you about the process. We are going to talk about, some information you need to have for registration and what is a registration by a third party versus when you do your registration, your own. And then what kind of information you need to gather you need to have before you start the registration process. Otherwise, you have to go in and then log out and get some more information and come in. So the best thing is to have all the information already set, and there's a paper form that you can have to fill out all your information, and then you can fill it out online. Then we'll go through the registration process, and then we'll talk about some other things and questions, and I'll share some information with you. I told you these acronyms that you need to remember are the Food Facility Registration, FFR, and the DUNS number. The DUNS number is a unique identifier, unique facility identifier that tells the FDA exactly where you are located physically, not you, but your facility, where you make the food that's going to be exported to the US. So we'll talk about that, how you can get a UFI or a DUNS number. It's the most common unique facility identifier is the DUNS number. There are other unique facility identifier systems, but the DUNS number is the most recognized by FDA, the most common one, and it's relatively easy to get. Okay. So in terms of registrations, I was telling you, first of all, you need to get into what they call the food industry systems under the FDA. It's called the Unified Registration and Listing System. Basically, you create an account with FDA. So no matter what, you need to create an account with FDA. And one of the things that you do is you create that account to be able to register your facility and to do other business. For example, when you do your prior notice of shipments to the US, and also for if you have a canning facility, then you'll also need to register your canning establishment. So that's a separate registration from your registration, food facility registration, okay? So what happens is that we had two systems. The food canning establishment registration was developed a long time ago. That regulation was 108, 21 CFR 108, was developed a long time ago. And then after the Bioterrorism Act, the FDA developed this food facility registration. So for canning facilities, they had to register twice, and it's two separate registrations. But every facility that exports to the US has to be registered as a food facility registration, okay? And please ask me any questions or stop me if there's something I need to talk about. So we are going to talk about how to create a food industry systems account, then how to create a DUNS number for your facility, and then how to go through the process of registration of your facility. And there is a guidance on step-by-step instructions. So I'll share with you at the end, after the presentation, some sites and some handouts that will help you in remembering what we talked about today. I've also shared this presentation with you. So let's talk about the food industry system account. So like I told you, no matter what, to do business with the FDA, all facilities, whether in the US or outside the US, need to register in this system. Basically, you're registering with the FDA, in account with the FDA. So I was telling you that if you want to create an account, then you go here to create an account, and then you develop your account process, including it will give you a password and a PIN that you need to remember. So you need to remember your login, that is your email, whatever email you were using, and your password and your PIN. So this is very important, and we've come across some problems. For example, if you have someone do this for you, like an employee of yours, and that employee leaves and you don't have the password or the PIN, or the email does not work anymore, you cannot access the system. So you'll have to create a new account and you'll have to remove that account. And then there's some paperwork that you have to do with FDA. So it becomes a little cumbersome. So the best thing to do is to have a save your information in a safe place. Make sure that you have access to that information. And when I say you, I don't know what your role is in your facility or in your company, but it needs to have someone that has authority in the facility, so that you can pass this information from one person to the other as they need it to input whatever information they need to have. The other thing that we recommend, you don't have to, but is limit the access of personnel to this information, of course, because if I have your information, I can go in and change something if I wanted to, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that you keep this information and you have it, and then make sure that you limit who has access to this information. So I'm sorry for the blurry of this slide, but what you see here is your account information. So you enter names, title, company name. Remember, this is company name, not necessarily your facility name, but the company name, web address if you have, phone number, fax number if you have, country, it'll be Egypt, and then address. So you can have a street address and a number in the street address, the city, for example, the state, and the zip code. And then if you have a preferred mailing address, then you can add your preferred mailing address, like this, like a PO box or whatever it is. So that's up to you. Okay, and then you get to a point where you have to input your password. And if you forget your password, some secret questions and secret answers. So the password has to be, again, at least 15 characters, no more than 32 characters. So preferably numbers mixed with a few letters and some special characters. So they say at least one uppercase, at least one lowercase letter, at least one special character, and at least one number, but you need 15. So you need a combination of that so that, and like I say, preferably more numbers than letters. That's what I understand. It's more secure, but it's your password. So you need to develop that. And you need to confirm your password. And you need to give like 3 different questions, like what's the name of your favorite dog or something like that. That's not many people will know. In case you forget your password, it's going to ask you these questions so that you can answer them, and then the system will recognize that it is you, and you can have a new password. Okay? So once you create your information, you have a screen to review the information. Here are the questions. For example, what color was your first car? What was your high school mascot? What was your favorite food? So you choose from a menu of questions which ones you want to have and that you can remember. Remember, that's in case you lose your password. It says here you will need to remember your account and password to log in the system. So it will give you an account. This is your account. So once you have your account, you are ready to register your facility in the system. Okay. So it says, welcome to the food industry system. You are logged in as COM16606 for company, whatever your company is. And then you can go on to your registration of your food facility or some other registration as it pertains. But first of all, your registration of your food facility. Okay. So I think that's the first thing, is to have an account with the FDA and the food industry system. So just remember that. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the registration of your facility. So many people will tell you, oh, we'll do all this for you. And that's fine. If you want somebody else to do it for you, that's fine. The food facility, it says here, may register, update, or cancel its registration itself. That is, you can do it, either you yourself or somebody in your company, or you can authorize somebody else on behalf of you, that is a third party, for example, Register Corp, and there's many companies, ABC, whoever. However, the FDA notes that food facilities do not need a certificate of registration. So if you look at this, you don't need a certificate of registration. In fact, when you register your facility directly to FDA, FDA does not issue a certificate of registration or product status, or does not recognize a certificate if somebody else has registered for you. So this is a piece of paper that these companies have made up that doesn't mean anything. The FDA doesn't care if you have a certificate or don't have a certificate. So if a third party does the registration for you, if you do the registration yourself, you will not get a certificate from FDA. All you get is a registration number, food facility registration number. That's what you need to have. You need to register your facility. That's all you need. And then you need to do a couple of things afterwards every 2 years, re-register. The other thing is that no facility is FDA approved. Only in the area of drugs and medical devices, which is different and we're not going to talk about. Sometimes there's some approval that the FDA goes through. But there's no such thing as an approved facility. There's no such thing as FDA certification. That does not exist. If you see a logo like this, it doesn't mean anything. It's not right. In fact, it should not appear in your your paperwork, in your facility, and so on and so forth. It says here, unauthorized use of FDA logo may violate federal law.
So let me, Dr. Joan, step in 1 minute, please.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just to make it more clear for all of our participants and our
Sure.
colleagues regarding the FDA registration certificate. Okay, so I will just moving into Arabic, if you please. انا بس اللي محتاج ناكد عليها ان بالفعل ما فيش حاجه اسمها شهاده تسجيل في الاف دي اي. يعني اللي بيحصل دوت ان في شركات اكس واي زي كلنا عارفينهم، لما بنطلب منهم التسجيل كثيرد بارتي وبياخد الفي اللي بياخدها 400 $500 وات ايفر، في النهايه بيرجع لنا بشهاده التسجيل باف دي اي، وفي بعض مننا بيكون بيعتبرها واحده من ضمن السيرتيفيكيشن، يعني لوج بوك بتاعه، تلاقيه مثلا بيقدم السيرتيفيكتس بتاعته الاف دبل اس سي بي ار سي اتش او اكس وات ايفر بلس كمان اف دي اي ريجستريشن. هو اصلا ما فيش حاجه اسمها اف دي اي ريجستريشن سيرتيفيكت، الاف دي اي مش بتصدر الشهادات دي خالص. ممكن تكون ده ايفيدنس على ان السيرفيس بروفايدر بيديها لك ان هو سجل لك، بس اهم حاجه انك تاكسس وتتاكد ان بالفعل ليك رقم تسجيل واوريدي، يعني تقدر ان انت تبقى ضامن ان فعلا حصل تسجيل فعليا. بس فكره ان حد بيقدم شهاده ان ده يعني احنا بنديك اف دي اي سيرتيفيكيشن او بنساعدك ان انت تبقى اف دي ابروفد، اتس نوت اوريدي eligible anymore. مفيش حاجه اسمها كده خالص. So again, Dr. Juan, just echoing what you have mentioned, that there is no something that we can say that FDA approved certificate or FDA registration certificate. So if I have registered myself, I can access and I can check my registration through my login account and to check my registration case and profile. There is no anymore something that is called FDA approval or FDA registration. It doesn't make sense that when I have demonstrating like my certification logo for different food safety standards to include among of them like what is called FDA approval or FDA registration. Back to you.
Correct. Thank you, Dr. Mann. So knowing this, there's a couple of things to remember. If somebody registered your facility in the past and you don't have the login information, you cannot re-register your facility because there will be 2 registrations for the same facility, for the same physical address of the facility. So the correct way to do it is that if you have registered your facility, or if you know that your facility was registered by somebody else or a third party, and you want to register your facility now yourself, you have to write the FDA. You can call them, you can email them at pearls.sda.gov, or you can call them. The best thing is to email them and tell them that, you know, you had your facility registered, but this was through a third party or through somebody, your employee that left, and you don't have the information. So you would like to register your facility yourself, cancel that registration or whatever. Then the FDA will probably ask you to write on letterhead or some secure other way. They will communicate with you to verify that it is you, the facility owner, operator, or agent in charge. Okay, so they want to talk to someone. They want to make sure that first is your facility, and then they want to ensure, sorry, I was looking for this. They want to ensure that you are the person that will be in charge. Okay, so we'll talk more about this. Who is the owner, operator, or agent in charge? So some of you, many of you might be the owners of your facility or your company, and also the facility, or the operator might be a general manager, a vice president of operations, some other authority within the facility, or an agent in charge, which could be, you know, the food safety manager or somebody else that has authority and was approved by the owner to do this process. So basically, you need to contact the FDA through pearls@sda.gov or through the phone number there, and tell them that, you know, you don't have, you know, that your facility is registered, or you might not know if your facility is registered, and you want to find out if your facility is registered, and if it is, you don't have login information, so you would like to register your facility or obtain a different password and PIN. And like I said, FDA might contact you and say, okay, I want to verify that you are the person in charge in this facility, and so on. Okay, so you talk to FDA and it's no problem, but you don't register your facility again. So if you have a registration number already and you don't have access to it, you just contact FDA. Okay, so let's get into facility registration. So does my facility need to be registered? So usually I will assume that most of you, if not all, your facility will need to be registered. So there's a question and answer facility registration guidance that I'll share with you. And this facility registration guidance tells you, you know, whether your facility needs to be registered or not. So for example, for people here in the US, restaurants, private residences, retail food establishments like a supermarket and so on, do not need to register. Okay. However, if I have a restaurant, but I also make a barbecue sauce or whatever, and I sell it to a warehouse that then distributes it, or to a supermarket or to a shop, then I need to register my facility. So, you know, there's some gray areas, but that's here in the US. So if you're a facility outside the US and you process, pack, or whole foods that are going to be distributed or commercialized in the US, you need to register your facility. There's a few things that the question and answer session will answer for you. For example, if you have a facility where you make the product, you package the product and everything, but you send that product to a secondary facility where they put the label, minimum, or they package your product in boxes, you still need to register the facility where the product was processed, not the secondary facility where they just box in your product, but the primary facility. However, if you have two facilities and one of them provides food to a secondary facility where they're going to process the food, so for some reason or another you are, just receiving in a facility, receiving some type of product that you're going to do some minimal processing, but you're going to send to a secondary facility that will be the facility that will process the food into the final product that's going to be exported, commercialized in the US, then the secondary facility needs to be the one that needs to be registered. In some cases, the two facilities need to be registered. So sometimes you may have a question and you can go to the Q&A facility registration guidance, ask one of us, or better yet, ask the FDA, because sometimes there's a gray area that we need to find out, okay? The best thing is to get a determination by the FDA, but we can certainly help you, okay? So let's go through the food facility registration process. So again, you want to have all the... Go ahead, sorry. You want to have all the information with you before you start the process. So I'm going to tell you what information you need. And again, I'll share with you a paper form that you can have. It's best to do the facility registration electronically through the website. If you do paper registration, that takes forever to process and so on and so forth. So it's best to do it electronically. It's just as good and it's very secure. Then you need to have a US agent and you need to have the DUNS number, okay? Then once you register your facility, you will obtain an 11-digit FDA number. That's your facility registration. So again, like Dr. Mahmoud said, you will not get a certificate, you will not get an FDA approval, all you will get is an 11-digit number. That's your facility registration number. That's it. So this last here, you not get a certificate. This is what people here in the US want you to, will give you once you if you do the registration through them, but you will not get this through the FDA. Instead, you will get that number, and then all you need to have is re-register every 2 years. The re-registration already open. So if you have a registered facility, all you need to do is re-register between October 1 and December 31 of this year, of 2024. So it's every even year, every 2 years, even years. I don't know why I said all years. You need to re-register your facility. So now the re-registration process is going on. So again, if you have registered your facility, all you need to do is confirm that your facility is still there. You go with your login, I'll show you very quickly, and re-register. And if nothing has changed, that's all you need to do. So just to confirm, you register into the FDA system, you have a US agent. If you don't have one, you find a US agent. We'll talk about that. You get your DUNS number, then you submit your registration number, and you get your 11-digit food facility registration number. And that's it. Finish until 2026. So again, FDA does not issue a certificate or whatever. That's third companies. Okay, so there's paper forms, like I told you. I'll share this with you. And that paper form you can do, but it takes a much longer to process, so it's best to do it online. There's also a paper form for cancellation of facility registration. So if your facility is no longer exporting, or it's no longer processing, or whatever, it was sold and you don't want anything to do with it, you just cancel your facility registration. Remember to cancel your facility registration, okay? So let's talk about facility registration form process. So what information, again, you need to have? Well, first of all, identify who is going to input the information, who is going to be the person responsible. So again, it can be the owner, it can be an operator, like a general manager, a plant manager, a vice president of operations, or an agent in charge. And again, an agent in charge is an agent within the facility, like, you know, the food safety director or whatever it is. But somebody that the owner or operator knows and has authority. And again, it has to be a person that's responsible, because there's a password, the PIN, and so on and so forth, that somebody needs to remember and have for the facility. You also need to have a U.S. agent. That is a person that lives in the U.S. or is residing in the U.S. and is responsible for sometimes communicating on your behalf to the FDA, because the person is easier to find during business hours and so on and so forth. Then you need your food facility address and other information. And then your DUNS number, the food facility unique facility identifier, okay? So again, you know, what I recommend is that you fill out the paper form. That way, all you have to do is transpose the information to the electronic form. So a U.S. agent is a U.S. agent information is submitted electronically using the federal system. Each foreign establishment may designate only one U.S. agent. So you cannot have more than one U.S. agent. So it can be a broker, it can be your FSBP importer, it can be anybody else that consents to be your U.S. agent. So you also are not required, but to designate a U.S. agent as your official correspondent. Like I show you, many people will register your facility and will act as your official correspondent. So those will be the spokespersons on your behalf for the FDA. So what the idea is here is that you take ownership or control of official communication with the FDA. But you can still have them as your U.S. agent or somebody else. So you have to provide the name, address, telephone, and fax numbers, and email address of the U.S. agent. The agent identifier will be required to complete an automated process to confirm that they have agreed to be your U.S. agent. So there's a verification process within the FDA that says, okay, Juan Silva has declared you as the U.S. agent. Are you the U.S. agent for Juan Silva's facility, company, whatever? And if I say yes, it's okay. If you say yes, it's okay. If no, then there's a problem. You put somebody that has not consented. So you need to talk to your U.S. agent, whoever that will be here in the U.S., and basically make sure that they will get a contact by FDA to be your U.S. agent. So they'll do some speaking on your behalf, but you still have ownership of your facility registration and communication with FDA for the most part, okay? If the U.S. agent denies consent, that is, if they don't respond to FDA within 10 business days, then you don't have a U.S. agent, then you cannot register your facility. Or if you register your facility with that U.S. agent, and the US agent denies being the agent, then you have not registered your facility. So again, make sure that you have agreed, or the US agent has agreed to be your agent. What are the responsibilities of the US agent? Assist the FDA in communicating. So again, the FDA wants someone that's around here, that resides in the US or maintains a place of business, a physical place and office in the US. You cannot just have an answering machine or a post office box. It has to have a facility, a DUNS number also. So the main thing is they must be available to answer phone or have an employee that answers the phone during normal business hours. So the difference in time between here and Egypt sometimes makes it difficult for FDA personnel that works only a certain hour during the day to communicate with you. So that's one of the things. Responding to questions concerning the foreign establishment foods that are imported or offered for import in the US. So the FDA might have some questions. You know, we had in the registration that, you know, your company responsible for what you are an agent is now exporting jams, but those were not part of the registration process. So we just want to make sure. So it's a matter of communicating. If the FDA has scheduled an inspection because of cost, for example, a recall or something else, or an inspection of your facility or just routine inspection, they also might communicate to you through your US agent. So sometimes if they cannot communicate to you directly, or for some reason or another, or they need to communicate quickly, the US agent is a party between you and the FDA.
So let me stay here in a minute.
Sure.
So it's very important. يعني ده مهم جدا.
Sure. Yes, sir.
اختيار اليو اس ايجنت اثناء التسجيل. ممكن يكون حد من البروكرز اللي هناك في الستيتس، ممكن يكون المستورد في الستيتس او ايفر. فكره وجوده او اختياره ان هو طول الوقت يبقى الاف دي اي شايفه ان في حد اوريدي في الستيتس يقدروا يرجعوا له في بعض الكيسز زي الريكولز، زي اي انفستيجيشنز او غيره، او في بعض الاحيان وفقا للفيزما ان في او الفورين سبلاير فيريفيكيشن بروجرامز ان في بعض الانسبكشنز اللي ممكن تحصل لها سكادولينج بقى، يا اما تكون بيزد على بعض الانفستيجيشنز او الريكولز او غيره، او راندوملي. يعني زي مثلا حضراتكم لو عملتوا اكسس للاف دي بورتال هتلاقوا مثلا ان في مصر حصل بعض الانسبكشنز اللي تمت السنين اللي فاتت، مثلا ممكن في 2011 2013 على بعض الشركات. فبالتالي في النهايه اليو اس ايجنت هو يعتبر الحلقه الوصل ما بيننا وما بين الاف دي اي. عشان كده اختيار يو اس ايجنت اكتف سهل الوصول ليه، يبقى متاح بالنسبه للتواصل مع الاف دي اي، مهم جدا. مش فكره ان انا بملى بيانات او كده، لان اثناء الابلكيشن قبل ما اخد ابروفال على الابلكيشن فاينل ريجستريشن، الاف دي اي هترجع تاني لليو اس ايجنت اللي انا حددته، وزي ما دكتور جوان قال ان هم هيسالوه هل بالفعل انت الاكسبورتر اكس او السبلاير اكس اللي من مصر مختارك كيو اس ايجنت، هل بالفعل انت بتؤكد كده؟ اذا كان اوكي تمام، ما كانش لا يبقى في الحاله دي الريجستريشن هيتوقف. فده الهدف من اختيار اليو اس ايجنت. Just Dr. Joan, to highlight that the importance of effective selection of US agent, number one, to be like to facilitate the communication with the FDA during the registration process. There is a vital rule that the FDA will get back to the selected US agent and can say that already it's eligible to be like a US agent for the supplier or exporter X from Egypt or not. Number two, it will facilitate the connections and further communications with FDA for investigations, recalls, incidents, if any, or for any random schedule inspections and so on. So just wrap up for why it's very important to select US agent during the registration process. Back to you.
Thank you, Dr. So, as you say, it's very important, and the most important thing is what we say: same thing as the FSBP importer, is that you communicate with the US agent and vice versa. Because it's a person that going to answer some questions to the FDA or be communicating with you from the FDA about, something that's official, that's from the FDA. Thank you. Okay, I just put this here. It's no big deal. It's not for you, but the FDA is establishing a list of US agents. So it's called a voluntary identification system for food facility registration. So what this is FDA is changing. And what happens is that the FDA will give the US agent an identification number for their facility. So I could be a US agent for 10 facilities throughout the world. So each facility will have a unique number assigned to me as a US agent for each one of those facilities. Now the foreign food facilities now have the option of providing the identification number of their US agent during registration. So that's another part of the registration. You can have the US agent identification number, and that identifies or lets the US FDA know that exactly who the US agent is, because it's in the system. This is voluntary, so some agents might be in this list, some might not. And this just started, so this is very new. Okay. So let's go on to the registration, and I'm just going to pause here for 1 second and for you to think about. You don't have to answer. You can answer in the chat, but the first question is, for example, are you the facility owner, operator, or agent in charge? Or do you have someone designated, or you will need to designate someone that will be your agent in charge? And again, that's not the US agent, that's the person that's going to register your facility on your behalf. The owner operator is a person, includes partnership, corporation, association, who has an ownership interest or management authority of a facility or portion of the facility. Okay. The second thing is, do you have a US agent? And do you have the contact information? Like we talked about, address, telephone number, email, fax number, and so on and so forth. And even the US agent number, but that's voluntary. And the third thing is, do you have a DUNS number? So you need this information, basic information, to register your facility. Okay. So once you have your US agent information, you may have it already. Then the second thing that you need to have is your DUNS number. Remember, you already log in the system, you have a login and password access. So you need your DUNS number. So to get your DUNS number will also be a number like this. For example, here in Mississippi State, we have a number. It has 24689, so 9 digits. The DUNS number is 9 digits. 9 digits. The food facility registration number is 11 digits. Okay, so what this says is it lets the FDA know exactly where you are located. So we may have, like we are a university here, we have different offices with different DUNS numbers. So for example, for the purposes of the grants and contracts, we have this DUNS number. But for the purposes of our foundation, we have this DUNS number. And I'll show you other DUNS numbers that we have within Mississippi State. So a company may have different DUNS numbers for different purposes of business. If you have a company and you have 2 facilities, you have to have 2 DUNS numbers and 2 registrations if you export from those 2 facilities. So the registration and the DUNS number are for each facility that processes, packages, or stores food to be exported to the US. Okay? Very important to remember. This is like a GPS coordinates. It will tell the FDA exactly where you are. Okay, so remember, you're going to obtain a DUNS number for each one of the facilities that you are going to, that you have. It might be just one facility or more than one that you have that exports, that makes product to export to the US. So you go into this website, DUNS website, Duns and Bradstreet website, importregistration.dnb.com, and you say, you click on the register button, register. If you already register a DUNS number and you don't know the password, you forgot your password, you go through the process. So remember, all this information is very clear that you need to have it secure. You need to have it secure, and you need to have it available if you're going to revise or change or something, okay? So then you register, you fill out the required information, you check the box to confirm the terms and conditions, you click create the account, and then you fill out the account and you activate. So you put your information. Now, the password and the email for the DUNS number should be the same as the email for the registration. If it is two separate emails of the same person, or two separate emails of two different persons, that's fine, as long as you add that information. The password is different. This is a different process. This is not FDA. All you are doing is giving some information so that they give you a number. That number will be associated with the physical position, address of your facility in the world. That way, FDA, when they go to inspect or whatever it is, they know exactly where to go. So don't give the company address, give the facility address where the product is being processed, packed, or held, okay?
I have a question here, just
Sure.
making it
Sure.
clear for all the participants. Sometimes in different countries, I think Dun and Bradstreet already have offices in different countries. For example, we have in Egypt an office for Dun and Bradstreet, and the facility or the company can go to there asking for registration to having a DUNS number. However, I noticed that the process is very easy, that everyone can access the website, can enter all the needed info. At the end, I can have at the end the registration number of the DUNS number, which is essential for FDA registration. So no need for this step, so I can manage my own. That's true?
If I understand right, Dr. Mahmoud, if you have a DUNS number, and that DUNS number is of your company, which is located at the same place as the facility, in office, where it's located at the same place, physical address at the facility, or next to the facility, you can have offices and the processing facility next door, that's fine. However, if you have an office, let's say in Cairo, but your facility is elsewhere, then you'll need to have a new DUNS number for your facility.
Yeah, thanks much for this. But the ask here that I can manage the registration for the DUNS number, having the DUNS number at the end myself, with no need to go for Dun and Bradstreet offices to ask them to do on behalf. Okay, so it's very easy to
Oh, yeah.
access. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You can do all this. We're talking about you can do yourself.
Okay, great.
That's the
Sounds
idea.
great.
For you to do, you don't have to have somebody else, or you don't have to pay anybody else to do this for you. You go
Sounds
to
great.
Dun & Bradstreet and you input the information and you get a DUNS number. Yes, sir.
Sounds great. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Thank you. So just a few options. So choose the best option that fits your company. So I need a UFI to register with the FDA. That's why you are registered. You need a DUNS number. UFI is Unique Facility Identifier. So the DUNS number is a UFI. Then you fill out the information that you need, the legal name of your business address, the business phone number. the owner, operator, agent in charge, the primary business industry. Some of these questions you don't have to answer, like the total number and full and part-time employees. You can answer, you don't have to answer. You can put 10 and 100, it doesn't matter, it's up to you. But some information is that's highlighted is required. And the most important part is that the information you put in your DUNS number has to be the same as the information that you put in your registration. They have to match. So for example, if I put an address, for example, here, I'm 945 Stone Boulevard, but I put my, in DUNS, I put 945 Stone Boulevard. But in my facility registration, I put 925 because it's a number, you know, next door is a little, you know, it's close, but it's a different address. They do not match. So your registration will not be accepted. They have to match. So whatever information you put in your DUNS number or your registration number has to be the same. The owner, operator, or agent in charge, the business phone number, the business address, those things have to match. And the business location, okay? So one more thing about the DUNS number. If you wait until December 30 to get your DUNS number, it's too late. So if you do not have a DUNS number for your facility, you better start now. You have until December 31 to register or re-register your facility. So it takes a little while. It might take up to 30 business days, so a little bit more than a month. It might not take that long. It might be within a week. It all depends on DUNS and Bradstreet. This company has to verify. So do your process of your DUNS number registration as soon as possible. You can expect it, you know, like everything else. If you pay some money, then you can have it in a week or so. Okay. So if you pay $229, you can have it in a week or so. So it's up to you. If you want your DUNS number tomorrow, you won't be able to, but within a week, 10 days, you can pay $229. But you don't have to. This is a free. There's no charge to get a DUNS number. However, you need to make sure that you have the correct information, okay? You might be contacted by a representative of DUNS. They might email you to validate the information. Once it has been authenticated, you will receive a DUNS number. So another important thing is that for FDA and for DUNS and Bradstreet, make sure that you allow emails to come into your email box. So if you have a very restricted email, you might do a different email, like a Gmail, or make sure that you allow or you check your spam box to ensure that emails from Dun & Bradstreet and from FDA come into your box, okay?
Very
So
important, in particular,
yes.
If someone will register using the business email, because as you know, some of business email servers can restrict stranger emails. So I think it's very important to check and to bounce every time, checking for spam or junk emails, making sure that there is no spamming for FDA emails. Yeah, very important.
Very,
yeah, thanks much.
Very important, Dr. Memo, very important. For example, when we have a facility here, I'll show you. When we first registered, the email went to the spam box of the general manager, or the plant manager. So, you know, he was desperate. He didn't get an email, and I said, check your spam, and it was in the spam. So it's very, very important. Yes, check it daily, because you never know, and you need to respond to DUNS, just like you need to respond to FDA. Otherwise, you won't get a facility registration.
Okay.
Very important. Thank you. So what are some mistakes? Sometimes you don't use a shipper information. You don't use the headquarters location. Each physical location needs an unknown. So do not use your U.S. agent information for the address. Remember, if you have a company and you have an office, central office or corporate office, we call, and it's separate from your location where your facility is, you need a different number. So you need a number for the actual physical address, street, city, and so on and so forth of the facility, okay? And you need the number, the information for the owner, operator, or agent in charge. So the legal name, address, and the fields in the FFR and DUNS must match exactly. So if you put One Silva LLC in your DUNS number, but in your food facility registration, you put One Silva Company, they do not match as legal names. So any minor difference will invalidate your registration, your food facility registration. So it's very important that they match, right? Address and so on and so forth. Okay. So if you notice here, failure to update the registration with a valid DUNS number can result in cancellation. So I think the most important thing of the talk today is that you have the information correct and that the information that you have matches. The DUNS number, the agent in charge, the US agent, and the facility address, and so on and so forth. They have to match, okay, and be correct. The DUNS number is free. You can have up to 4 changes in 90 days of registration. So, I had a problem here, you can go back and change, and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's it's not easy to communicate with them. So it takes a little bit of patience until you get a hold of it. So it's easier than what, it's not as, it's very easy to say it, but once you do it, it'll take a little bit of work. But if you have the correct information with you, it should not be difficult. And remember, be on the lookout for emails from dmv.com, just like from FDA referrals. Okay, so for example, I just wanted to give you an example. This is part of the area of Mississippi State University, where I am talking to you today. In fact, I'm talking to you from right here, very close, from right here. That's where my office is, more or less, today. So if you see, I gave you an address that was somewhere around here somewhere. That's the Office of Sponsored Programs. That is our contracts. There's another address that's of an office around here. That's the foundation. There's another address of an office out here. That's the engineering something office. So there's various DUNS number. And there's a DUNS number for our processing plant. Our old DUNS number used to be for the, not here, but the address here. Our old DUNS number was associated with our office. And even though our office is next to the processing plant, it was a slightly different address. So the FDA came back and told the processing plant, your DUNS number does not match with your registration number. And the management of the processing plant had to go and change DUNS number so that it would match with the registration number, okay? So again, your DUNS number and your registration number are for a facility at a certain address. So if you have one here and one here, it's 2 DUNS numbers and 2 food facility registration numbers. If I have one here and one next door, and it's the same physical address, all I need is 1 DUNS number, okay? Okay, finally, let's get into the facility registration and information. So you gather all the information that you need plus a little bit more. So you go into food facility registration. Remember, if you are a canning facility, then you also need to establish this registration and so on and so forth. But today we're going to talk about food facility registration, okay? So again, just to reiterate, and you have to have a login account with FDA already. You register one facility. So if you have 2 or 3 facilities, separate addresses, you have to register each one separately. So I can have 4 facilities. For example, I just took this from the website. Sorry if there's someone from Unilever, don't take this personal, just taking an example. And these facilities are 4 facilities under the same company. I need to register each one of those facilities. I just want you to make sure that you understand that it's a physical address. So when you enter your registration, you will say it's initial registration and it's a foreign facility registration, okay? It could be domestic or foreign, initial, update, biennial, renewal, okay? So it could be a renewal or it could be abbreviated. Abbreviated means everything is okay. I just need to make sure that I re-register. If there's an updated or registration renewal, then you already have a facility registration number and a PIN. You just input that information. If it is initial, as in what we are doing today, then you don't have this information. This is the information that you're going to get. Okay? And then you have your facility. If it isn't updated, your facility name change. For example, if I went from my dairy processing plant, now they call it Coster Dairy Processing Plant, then I just do a name change. If there's an address change, see instructions, and so on and so forth. This is for changes. But for facility registration, you go to section 2, facility name, address information. Or remember, this is physical address. So your facility name, Juan Silva LLC, and I'm here, just putting some information in here, filling some information. So if you have a state or province, you put it. If not, you don't have it, you don't put anything here. Country, city, the address. So if you have, 15 feet square body net, I'm just making this up. I just took this from the web. Then you put your information in English, of course, and the email address, phone number, fax number if you have a fax number. And then you need to put your UFI, your DUNS number, right? So you need to have your DUNS number already with you, okay? So you input that information, and remember that information has to be the same as the DUNS number. So this is a form 3537 is the form for facility registration. So you input your information. Your information has to be the same. Your information for facility registration has to be the same as the one for the DUNS number. So remember that. Everything, every letter and number, the same at every stage, okay? City, address, street address, number of the name of the company, and so on. If you are part of a company, if your facility is part of the company, so name of the parent company, where the parent company is located, and so on and so forth. Remember, you don't have to have a DUNS number for your parent company. You don't have to give it. There's no place here for the DUNS number. The FDA wants the DUNS number of your facility. The facility means the processing plant address, okay? But this is your company address, so your headquarters, if it's different from the facility. Then an emergency contact information. FDA will use your US agent as your emergency contact unless you choose to designate a different person. So again, if you designate your US agent, it's your US agent information. If you designate someone within your facility, then you put your facility, you refer the FDA to your facility address. If it is somebody else, you put, it's not your US agent, it's not your facility address, it's somebody else at another company. So you give the individual at the same company or another company, the individual name, the title, email address, and emergency contact number. So it's very important to remember that the FDA will call during normal office hours, unless there's an outbreak, for example. And then they might call, Sundays is your work day, but here is not a work day. So they might call at other times. So whoever your contact information is, needs to understand that if FDA calls, you need to answer. Okay? And they might follow up with an email address. They might not, but you need to answer if it is FDA. Okay, there was a question here. I would like to confirm my understanding regarding the FDA registration process. I currently have a DUNS number and FDA registration number, but another person handled the registration process for me. I understand that the FDA registration needs to be renewed every 2 years, specifically during the period. Yep. Could you please clarify if I can update the registration myself without needing to refer back to the individual who originally registered it? Additionally, is there any cost associated with the renewal or updating of the registration? So let me go to this question if you want to, Dr. Mahmoud, or you want me to finish the presentation and then go to the questions? Up to you. I will answer it and then continue with the registration. So you can do the renewal yourself as long as you have the information of the password, as long as you can log in. Okay, so you can register yourself. Re-registration is not, there has no cost. Registration or re-registration has no cost whatsoever. All the FDA wants to know is that you're still there, you're still making the product that you're making, and so on and so forth. Who are required to register with the FDA? Exporters or manufacturers of food products? Manufacturers. That means the facility that makes the product. So if you have an exporter, but the exporter is just a commercial, a marketing, does the commercial business, the brokerage or whatever, that's not the facility. The one that needs to register is the facility where the product is made, held, processed. Okay? Okay? We can come back to these questions once I finish again, if you have any more questions. Okay? So the facility contact information, emergency contact information. So remember, this person needs to be aware, it could be your US agent, needs to be aware that they could be contacted by FDA. Okay, if you have other trade names, for example, PepsiCo is a company. They have various trade names: Pepsi, Lay's, Quaker, Gatorade, 7-Up, Doritos, Cheetos, Ruffles. And then they have other trade names. You need to name those trade names. So if I have a Lay's potato chip facility, but I also call it PepsiCo Lay's or PepsiCo, period, I had to put, if I register under Lay's, sorry, L-A-Y, Lay's, but I also am registering my facility under my other trade name, my company trade name, PepsiCo. Then I put alternative trade name number 1, PepsiCo, and so on. Okay? Just to give clarity to FDA. Oh, I see that you are PepsiCo. Yeah, but PepsiCo Lay's is part of PepsiCo. Okay? Then remember, you need to have your US agent name, address, city, state zip code, emergency contact number, phone number during the day, email address. Fax number is optional. But the phone number can be the office number, and the emergency contact number might be the cell number, the mobile number, and the ID. So remember, if you have the US agent ID, you need to put that. There are some facilities that only process during certain months of the year. For example, if I am a tomato cannery business, I might be open during, let's say, I don't know, June through October of every year. So you need to tell the FDA what are your dates of operation. If you work most of the year, you just don't have to, you are not seasonal. But if you are only working 6 months out of the year, or 4 months out of the year, you need to tell the FDA when are you open. Because they need to know, because if they want to go to your facility and you are not operating, then they're wasting their time, okay? Then you need to know what product categories, and I'm going to share this with you, the number of product categories. It goes from acidified foods to bakery product to confectionery product to candies to food additives to I don't know, all kinds of processed food. So it's about a total of about 40 different categories. And if you don't find any of those categories, you can say, if none of the above, then enter the applicable food category. And they might recategorize it for you, okay? So also the type of activity that's conducted at your facility. For example, is it a warehouse? Is it refrigerated storage? Is it a frozen food storage? Is it an acidified food facility? Is it a low acid food facility? Is it a caterer? You don't have that because that's here. Is it a contractor, a labeler, a manufacturer, a repacker, a salvage operator? That is, it takes products that are the rest that are not commercialized. That's here in the US. If it's a farm mixed facility, is like a packing house where they also process. So for example, if I am packing fresh products like dates, but I'm also processing dates into, I don't know, into a jar with syrup, then I'm a farm mixed type facility. I'm a processing facility because I do activities that package fresh product, but I also do activities that process products. Again, if you have questions about that, let us know, and we will be glad to help you. Or if you don't find the activity that you do, you put other, and you might put something in the comments, okay? But I'll share with you the different product categories, and then you choose the activities within each category that you do. Okay, so I could be an acidified food processor. So I say acidified food processor. I could have, a bakery, and I could I could be a manufacturer, and I could also be a warehouse. Where is it? A warehouse. Ambient food storage. Okay, so you can have more than one activity within each one of the product categories. And then you designate who is your owner, operator, or agent in charge. Basically, this is the person that has the information as an authority, and so on and so forth. If it is other than your agent, for example, your US agent, it can be your US agent, your owner operator, because it can be agent in charge, or it can be somebody else depending on the section. If you choose one of these sections, you've already given the contact information. Otherwise, you give the contact information. Finally, you have to check these two information things here. It says, by filling this, you will let FDA inspect your facility. Believe it or not, some facilities in some parts of the world, including the US, do not allow the FDA to come into the facility. Of course, when you don't allow the FDA to come into your facility cannot export anymore, or in the case of facilities here in the US, they cannot process and commercialize product anymore. But some people are very stubborn and they don't let the FDA. And then a certification statement, the owner, operator, or agent in charge of the facility must submit this form. So saying that the owner, operator, or agent in charge is submitting the form, signature, printed name, and the check. If it is one of these within your facility, or if it is, for example, a US agent or a third party. Okay. So you put a little bit more information. If it is a US agent, for example, or whoever that's on your behalf, you put that information and you go to your screen. The screen will come with all the information that you have filled. You verify that. I'll say you print it and check it. I'm a person of paper, but you can, just check it on your computer. Make sure it's complete. Make sure it's correct before you hit submit. Okay, because that's one of the biggest problems, that something did not jive, something is not correct, and that's sufficient for the registration to be out. So make sure, verify. We have a saying here in food safety: trust but verify. So if you fill out the information, have somebody else check it to make sure. Make sure that you have your DUNS number information so you can check it versus your information for your registration. Make sure you have the agent in charge, and the US agent information correct. Make sure that you have all the information correct. Okay. So for renewal, update, or review, how or when to renew registration, you ask a question. We talked about the initial registration, so you register before you or when you are going to export to the US, or when you begin to process, or you do your biennial renewal every 2 years on even years. It's October until December 31, so October 1st until December 31. And it could be a very quick re-registration, or you might need to revise some different categories and so on and so forth. A new US agent, whatever information that you need to change in your registration. If your facility information has changed, again, you can update your registration. You go into your industry systems login, and then looking at this guide, you can update your registration. So any time of the year, not renewal. The renewal is a process, routinely, but you can update your registration if it is something that has changed within your facility. Okay. Renewal, again, occurs every 2 years, even years like 2024, 2026, and so on and so forth. Remember that you'll get a PIN from FDA. Remember to keep that PIN and password so you can access the system and renew, change, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is some screens of the renewal. So biennial registration renewal, it'll be 2024 now. Your account access to the following registration. You have one facility, you may have more than one entity. So if it is more than one entity, and give the other entities, you go one by one. If it is abbreviated, you don't have much information to check. You just renew and submit. Okay. And finally, let me tell you what's the problem if you don't register or renew your registration, or you give information and the information is not correct and is not registered. So FDA may cancel the registration if you don't give the information correct. So you think you submitted the registration, but you haven't. So if you don't get a registration number, an 11-digit number, you have not registered your facility. You think you have, but you have not. So you have to get that registration number. If you don't renew, then FDA will consider your registration expired. And if you're exporting to the US, FDA might refuse entering into the US or might put you under import alert. Basically, if you're not registered or you don't renew your registration, you will not be able to commercialize in the US. Okay? So with that, thank you very much. And I'll be open to questions. We can go back to questions on the chat. If you have any other questions, please let me know, or we can go through, put it in the chat, and we'll be glad to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Juan, for very informative presentation and to simplify this process. Given that a lot of exporters usually think about this process as very complicated, need outsourcing support, etc. So I think now it's very simple. So let me, before taking the questions we have, just to wrap up in Arabic, making sure that in a nutshell, that what already presented, all the participation get acquainted about it. So اعتقد يا جماعه ان احنا دلوقتي تقريبا وصلنا ان البروسيس سهله، مش محتاجه الى حد ما ثيرد بارتي او ان حد يعملها بالنيابه عننا، لان هي البروسيس وضحت جدا ان هي ستيبس سهله ومحدده. بتبدا من الاول خالص في الجزئيه الخاصه بالتسجيل في الفود اندستري سيستم، ويبقى تقدر تاخد اليوزر نيم والباسورد واللوجن بتاعك. بعد كده بتبدا عمليه التسجيل، والتسجيل بيتطلب دانس نمبر. برضو دكتور جوان شرح ازاي ان احنا نقدر ناخد الدانس نمبر، لان ده هو الفاسيلتي ايدنتيفاير كيونيك فاسيلتي ايدنتيفاير يو اف اي الوحيد المعتمد عند الاف دي اي، اللي هو الدانس نمبر، عشان بيكون مرتبط باللاتيتيود واللونجيتيود واللوكيشن بتاعك. فبالتالي ده مهم جدا برضه، وده سهل ان احنا نعمله بنفسنا، وهو اتس فري اوف تشارج، مش محتاج اي فلوس، الا اذا كنت حضرتك محتاج تو اكسبيدايت البروسيس تبقى خلال 8 او 10 ايام بالكثير، فبالتالي هتحتاج تدفع المبلغ اللي كان دكتور جوان اشار ليه، اللي هو $229. الا لو سبت البروسيس تمشي تاخد وقتها الطبيعي، هيبقى فري اوف تشارج انك تاخد الدانس نمبر. كمان بنبقى محتاجين ان احنا بعد ما بدانا عمليه التسجيل في الفود اندستريز سيستم، وكمان عندنا الدانس نمبر، بنحدد كمان اليو اس ايجنت. ونقطه مهمه جدا في تحديد اليو اس ايجنت ان دايما ناخد بالنا ان يكون حد اكتف، حد سهل التواصل معاه من خلال اف دي اي، عشان اي كيسز اللي حب يكون في اي كوميونيكيشن زي انفستيجيشنز زي تريس باك او وات ايفر او سكادولينج انسبكشن او غيره، فاليو اس ايجنت بيكون هو الفوكال بوينت اللي بتقدر بيوصل ما بين الاف دي اي وما بيننا. بعد كده بنكمل الابلكيشنز بتاعتنا، وبنقدر نوصل في النهايه ان احنا نقدر نخلص عمليه التسجيل. البرزنتيشن طبعا هنشيره مع حضراتكم بكل الخطوات اللي فيه والستبس اللي فيه بكل اللينكس، واعتقد ده هيكون سهل جدا بالنسبه لنا ان شاء الله ان احنا نقدر نتبع البروسيس دي، او ان احنا نقدر نفهم اكتر عنه. بلس ان احنا ان شاء الله هنعمل زي جايدنس كده مبسط ان شاء الله ننتهي منه، وهيتم ترجمته برضه، وهنقدر ان احنا نشير مع حضراتكم من خلال مجلس التصدير عشان تبقى بروسيس التسجيل واضحه جدا. هناخد بعض الاستفسارات اللي كانت موجوده. So Dr. Juan, if we can start with a question from one of the participants asked about if already they are exporters, not manufacturers, should they register at FDA or the manufacturer to register?
No, good question, very good question. The exporter, if the exporter does not do any processing, packing, or holding of foods, they do not need to register. Only facilities that process, package, hold meaning warehouses and so on, food for export to the US need to register. So no, exporters do not need to register.
اوكي، سو بالتالي يا جماعه المصدر نفسه مش محتاج تسجيل، المنشاه هي اللي بتصنع، هي اللي بيكون ليها التسجيل بتاعها.
So if you have a registration and it has been done by a third party, your third party will have to share with you the password and PIN number, the access information, and their email. And then you can change that information as now you become the owner, operator, or agent in charge. Otherwise, you will need to cancel that registration from the third party and then register yourself, which you can do. Both ways you can do.
Okay. I think from business-wise, it's a tricky little bit that the third party can share with me the login information. Yeah, down the line. Okay. Yeah, I think, by the way, there is no fee for renewal, the same as for registration, so it's free. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. There's no cost for any of these DUNS number registration or renewal or registration. There's no cost.
طيب قبل ما اخد الهاند ريزنج، بس في بعض برضو الاسئله الثانيه. في حد بيسال على محتاجين توضيح بشكل اوضح تسجيل الشهادات المطلوبه. اعتقد البرزنتيشن واضحه جدا بخطوات التسجيل اللي حضرتك ممكن تتبعها باللينكس اللي هي مترتبه على بعضها. اول حاجه يبقى عندك فود اندستري سيستم ريجستريشن بتسجل عليه بكل سهوله، يبقى عندك دانس نمبر، عندك يو اس ايجنت. وانس الثلاثه موجودين بتقدر تكمل الابلكيشن بتاعك وبتقدر تخلص تسجيل الاف دي اي. لينك المحاضرة تمام. طيب النصر للتصدير والتوكيلات التجارية، اتفضل يا فندم لو في أي سؤال.
مساء الخير على حضراتكم. أنا اتشرفت إن أنا أكون دولي. أنا كان عندي مشكلة في التسجيل في الإف دي، إن إحنا كنا هنصدر توم لنيويورك، فبعتنا البيانات للعميل عشان يسجل الشركة في الإف دي، وسجل وبعت إن هو عايز رقم دانس، وبالفعل دخلنا على اللينك وسجلنا وجبنا رقم دانس. بس للأسف رقم الدانس لما قدمناه قالوا إن البيانات متغيرة. انت اسم الشركه عندك النصر للتصدير والتوكيلات التجاريه، لكن طلع في الدانس اسم الشركه باسم صاحب المنشاه عشان المنشاه فرديه، فاصبح انه في اختلاف في البيانات. اسم الشركه في دانس باسم صاحب الشركه، واسم الشركه هناك في الاف دي باسم النصر للتصدير والتوكيلات التجاريه، فالبيانات ما توفقتش. فقالوا لا، لازم البيانات تبقى مطابقه للاف دي وترجع لدانس تاني وتسجل بالاسم الجديد. رجعنا لدانس قال لا، مش هينفع لان انت شركه فرديه بتتسجل باسم صاحبها. فما عرفناش نعدل الاسم في الوكيل بتاع دانس، ولا عرفنا نعدل الاسم في الاف دي اي. ما عرفناش نوفق المعلومات مع بعض. ده الحاجه اللي وقفت معانا. استاذن حضرتك لو في اجابه او في مساعده في الموضوع ده. شكرا.
طيب دكتور جوان.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the ask here is that it's already exporters for to US. They have started the process of registration, and then their US agent started the process for registration. Then they get back for the dance number. When they already issued the dance number, there was a difference between the dance number issued with the owner of the entity, okay, and the registration at FDA was with the trademark of the company, so it was pending. So when they get back again for dance to correct the name, the representative of dance refused, given that it's already owned by an individual. So what's your proposed recommendations in this case?
Yes, it becomes complicated because done sometimes is a pain. What they want is your money. They want you to pay $229 so they can do the change. I think
Really?
yes, because if you give some money, then they'll listen to you better. I think that's my take on it. So there's sometimes you need to keep asking them to tell them that you need to change that information in order for you to register, and maybe say also write FDA. Tell FDA I'm having this problem. Write FDA. They should answer you. And in the worst case, you can cancel your DUNS number and you know do it again. But yes, we've had some issues with DUNS because again, I think they want your money, even though it's a free service. Sometimes. So I think it's important to communicate with FDA what are we having problems, issue with, because they might say, look, Dons, if you don't collaborate, then we might look somewhere else how to do this easier.
So they can get back to FDA, okay, to asking about changing the name to be like the trade name, even if they can expedite the request to pay like $229. Even at the States, we have two services. Who knows?
Yes. It's
Okay.
all in the name of business.
Yeah, really.
Unfortunately.
اوكي سو اعتقد الموضوع دلوقتي ممكن حضرتك ترجع تاني للاف دي اي وتطلب البروسيس بتاعه الدانس نمبر اللي هو التعديل من خلال الخدمه اللي هي الاكسبيدايت اللي كان اشار ليها في الاول فكره ال $229. في الحاله دي الاف دي اي ممكن تسمع وتغير على طول يعني حتى هناك كمان في خدمه سوبر anyway. اوكي اعتقد في برضه بعض الاسئله استاذ محمد ابو زيد. اتفضل يا فندم.
السلام عليكم فندم.
عليكم السلام ورحمه الله.
شكرا لحضراتكم يعني على الشرح الوافي الكافي، بس في استفسار بسيط يعني بعد إذنك. هل مثلا لما أشترك في ال FDA هيكون في شركات معينة اللي أنا أصدر ليها للسوق الأمريكي؟ يعني بيحتم عليا شركات معينة ولا خلاص أنا
لا
كده
لا خالص،
سوق مفتوح بالنسبة لي؟
لا
تمام
تسجيل الاف دي اي دوت حضرتك ده حاجه اتس ريجولاتوري كومبلينس بتتوافق مع
تمام
معايير الاف دي اي كجهه منظمه للغذاء والدواء هناك، ودون الحجر على
تمام
حضرتك في حته البيزنس لينكجز او كونكشنز
تمام.
يعني. So the ask here, Dr.
طيب
Joan, just once I have registered at the FDA, so if there is any enforcement to just export to certain companies or something like this, I think no, it's just compliance with FDA regulations and then developing a business linkage. It's free for the exporter to can develop business linkage with any of the importers or any of the states. I think so.
Sorry, Dr. Mahmoud, I didn't get it all. Sorry.
I can repeat up again. So the ask here, once I have registered at FDA, there is no enforcement to develop business linkage with certain importers. It's up to the exporter to develop the business linkages in any of the states or any of okay.
You're
Okay,
correct. You're
yeah.
correct.
طيب استاذن حضرتك، انا هحتاج مثلا تسجيل سنوي، يعني انا مثلا بيحتاج ان انا اجدد التسجيل ده بصفه
التجديد كل
مستمره
سنتين،
سنويا
بس كل سنتين
كل
التجديد كل
سنتين؟
سنتين كل سنتين زي ما دكتور جوان قال اتس
تمام
باي انيال كل سنتين بتجدد، ولو ما فيش بيانات اتحدثت يبقى سهل جدا تاكسس وتشوف وتعمل ابديت للتسجيل بتاعك، ما فيش اي
طب
مشكله.
انا لو ما قدرش ان انا امشي البروسيس كامله، هل في مثلا حد استعين بيه ان هو يقدر يساعدني؟
في شركات اعتقد في السوق ممكن تقدر توصل ليها او تسال من خلال برضو اي مصدرين تانيين، ولكن
تمام
كان الهدف النهارده احنا بنوضح ان هو عمليه البروسيس سهله واضحه. ممكن تنتظر
مم.
كمان لحد ما تشوف الجايدنس اللي احنا هنوزعه على كل الشركات ان شاء الله من خلال المجلس يعني، وتقدر تشوفه ولقيت نفسك تقدر تتوافق مع الخطوات والستبس دي وتمانج عمليه التسجيل بنفسك. اوكي ما كانش ومحتاج بقى تستعين بحد، اعتقد ممكن تشوف بعض الشركات اللي هي ممكن بتساعد في البروسيس دي بعد ما تكون متاكد انك مش هتقدر تكملها، ولكن هي بروسيس سهله فما تبقاش فيها قلق من دلوقتي. انتظر لما تشوف الجايدنس وبعد كده تقرر ان شاء الله.
تمام. طب اسف جدا والله على اخر سؤال. بالنسبه لليو اس ايجنت، على اي اساس انا بختاره؟
على حسب الكونكشنز بتاعتك، حضرتك بتختار حد يكون فعلا ليك تواصل معاه قوي هناك، سواء
تمام.
مثلا مستورد من عند حضرتك، سواء بروكر بياخد عند حضرتك بيوزع هناك، بس الفكره كلها في وجوده لازم يكون بالفعل بياناته صحيحه. الاف دي اي تقدر ترجع له تتواصل معاه في بعض الحالات زي الريكول، زي انفستيجيشنز، سكادولينج، انسبكشنز او غيره. فهو الفوكال بوينت كيو اس ايجنت بينك وبين الاف دي اي، فلازم يكون اختياره افكتيف، بمعنى انه يكون متاح وحد انت تكون التواصل معاه يعني بشكل مستمر.
شكرا جزيلا لحضرتك.
تحت امر حضرتك. استاذ محمد خضر، اتفضل يا فندم.
مساء الخير يا فندم، ازي حضرتك؟
اهلا وسهلا.
معلش انا الكاميرا فور سام ريزن بس مش عايزه تفتح.
مفيش
هسأل
مشكله،
بس
اتفضل يا فندم.
مستر خوان، هسأله حاجه.
اتفضل.
How are you, Mr. Kwan? Thank you so much for such a great lecture. I just wanted to ask you something because my company here is we create brands and we create products, but we don't have a factory, so we do the total manufacturing in some other people's places. So my question is, do I have to register my own FDA, or should they register their FDA as a factory so I can export to the United States? Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a very good question. Very, very good question. Actually, the facility needs to register. Now, the facility can register if they are not exporting with their products, but they are exporting your products. Then it'll be the trade names of your product. But the physical address will be the address of the facility where the products are made.
Okay, and what if this factory failed to get the FDA?
You
know what
need
I'm
to
saying?
register it. They
I
just
need to
need to
register.
know, you need to register it, but they need to know that they are subject to inspection and so on and so forth. Because
Okay.
it's your company that's, the product is under your label, right? Your
Exactly,
company,
yes. Yes.
So you need to register it, but they need to know that they are subject to, inspection
Investigation,
and
yes.
so on and so forth by part of the. But I think in this case, you need to register because it's your trade name. So they are like a co-packer, right? They are packing for you,
yes.
testing for you. Sure.
So far, yes. So I just registered to the FDA myself under my company with my labels and everything, and then we do the inspection if they ever fail it. I
Yes.
didn't say they did, but maybe.
Yes, but the address of the facility, the address will be the facility address,
Will be
not
the
your
facility.
address.
All
But
right,
you
and
can have a
that's not going to make
secondary.
any conflict.
No, you just need to tell them because they're
All right.
making product to be exported to the U.S. They're making your products, but they are exporting to the U.S. So they
Yes.
need to comply with all the U.S. regulations,
All right.
in order to make your product.
Can I have one more question, one last question, if you don't mind?
Sure, no problem.
All right. If I got approved by the FDA, the label of each product should have like extra additionals, like icons, like some essential words to be written on the label, or that doesn't matter?
Well, let me if I understand well.
Okay.
You don't have to get approval from the FDA. You are if you mean approval of a registration facility, you get a registration number that's associated with that facility where they make the product. When you do your labels for your products, you have to have the right information on the label, including, it says you can have it distributed by or made in. You have to have an address, but it doesn't. So in terms of labeling, you have various options as to the address you can put. So it doesn't have to say this was produced in a facility that's not my facility. It doesn't have to have that. But it has to have an address as part of your label.
You are muted, Mr. Muhammad. You are muted, Mr. Muhammad.
I mean, for the distributor in the States, you have to put the address of the distributor, right?
That's probably the best option in terms of labeling. That's probably the best option. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But finally, I think for the same case, Dr. Joan, the labeling is very important to review the label with the producer facility because it's very important knowing about nutrition facts, knowing about the allergens and everything, avoiding any refusals related to mislabeling. Even if I'm already the exporter, but at the end already the production facility is knowing all about the technical details about the product. So it's very important to review the label, content, design everything with the production facility. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
that's one of the, Dr. Mahmoud, that's one of the reasons why product is refused, because not the correct information on the label. The product might be just fine, but if you don't have the correct information, it's difficult.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Joan, for a very fruitful webinar. Really, it was very informative for all of us. Thanks much for the participation from all of colleagues, from all of food safety teams, from all the interested participants who have participated in today's webinar. ان شاء الله هنشارك مع حضراتكم. المجلس هيبعت لحضراتكم اللينك الخاص بالتسجيل برضو، واعتقد بيبقى متاح على صفحه المجلس على يوتيوب وعلى الفيسبوك غالبا. برضو ان شاء الله هنشارك مع حضراتكم الجايدنس باذن الله وانس بس نخلص مراجعته مع دكتور جوان، وهيبقى جاهز بالانجلش. ممكن ياخد وقت النسخه العربي شويه عشان الترجمه، بس برضو ان شاء الله في البلان بتاعتنا نشاركه مع حضراتكم من خلال مجلس التصدير عشان تكون البروسيس واضحه. انا كتبت لحضراتكم الايميل ادرس بتاعي، لو في اي حد حابب يتواصل برضو موست ويلكم. يعني ودايما نلتقي مع حضراتكم في ايفنتس تكون مفيده او في ويبينارز تكون مفيده لحضراتكم وتخدم قطاع مصدري الصناعات الغذائيه كنتيجه للتعاون اللي بيتم ما بين مشروع تريد والمجلس التصديري للصناعات الغذائيه. بكرر شكري لحضراتكم، بكرر شكري للدكتور جوان، بشكركم جميعا ونلتقي على خير ان شاء الله. نرمين انت معانا.
شكرا يا دكتور عمارة، شكرين جدا على البرزنتيشن. Thank you, Dr. John, for the fruitful presentation and all the details that was shown in your presentation. دكتور عمارة، يعني أولا هنستأذن حضرتك طبعا هنستعجل النسخة العربي لأن في استفسارات كتيرة فيما يتعلق باللغة العربية، وهنستأذنك تاني إن إحنا محتاجين نفس السيشن، بس اعتقد يعني سواء حضرتك او حد من التيم اللي يقدمها او يبسطها شويه بالنسبه للناس، لان احنا لاحظنا ان اغلب الاسئله متكرره وكلها بتركز على البيزكس او الاساسيات. امتى انا اسجل، مين اللي المطلوب ان هو يسجل، الاشتراطات الاساسيه، ولو في كيس ستادي ان احنا نقدر ناخد شركه ونبتدي نمشي معاها اجراءات التسجيل بحيث ان هي تكون اوضح للشركات. بعد كده اديناهم المعلومه بشكل متكامل. انا عارف ان انتم ما بتتاخروش في مساعده اي من الشركات المصريه والشركات اعضاء المجلس، ويعني نامل ان انتم تدرسوا هذا المقترح.
لا حاضر ان شاء الله، ويل كونسيدر. زميلي دكتور رضوان هيهندل الموضوع مع الدكتور جوان. انا بس يعني عايز اكد ان كان دكتور جوان اوريدي كان عرض ان احنا في الفتره اللي هي من اكتوبر لحد نهايه ديسمبر فتره تجديد الاف دي ريجستريشن ممكن يساعد شركه او اثنين في عمليه التجديد عشان يكون بالنسبه لهم الموضوع more effective. So just Dr. Joan, just a reminder that we can offer to support one or two of the Food Export Council members during the era of renewal to support them through coaching during the renewal or to updating the registration info. So I think it will be like hands-on training and coaching.
Yes.
So it will be very valuable for all of
yes. Very glad to. I think it's very important. Once you do it, it's different. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you so much. شكرا.
Thank you دكتور جوان، شكرا دكتور محمود، وان شاء الله باذن الله نلتقي في اكتيفيتي ثانيه من ضمن فعاليات التعاون المشترك مع مشروع تريد. نرمين، زهره، استاذنكم لو نبتدي نقدم الاجزاء الخاصه بالتريننج اكتيفيتيز خلال الفتره اللي جايه بالنسبه للساده الحضور. اتفضلي يا استاذه نرمين.
خير. احنا بس عايزين نستغل الفرصه النهارده بنتكلم عن الاف دي اي، فاحنا عندنا كورس عن البي سي كيو اي هيكون في الفتره من 26 ل 28 نوفمبر. هو الكورس مدعم، تكلفته 6000 للعضو و6600 لغير العضو. دوت الكورس أهميته اللي هو لو شركة عايزة تدخل السوق الأمريكي، هو بيتكلم عن متطلبات ال FDA. فإن شاء الله هيكون في نوفمبر. ودكتور محمود ممكن يدينا بريف سريع عن أهمية الكورس. دكتور محمود. طيب اوريدي احنا حطينا
دكتور
لينك
محمود او
التسجيل.
دكتور رضوان؟
دكتور محمود رضوان او دكتور محمود عمارة لو حابين يدروا اي تفاصيل عن الكورس. مبدئيا احنا حطينا لينك التسجيل على الشات وهنحطه تاني. وبنأكد برضو مع حضراتكم ان في اسكندرية خلال الفترة من 15 ل 17 اكتوبر هيكون في كورس عن الهاسب انترنال اوديت. ده هيكون في اسكندرية. كمان بنأكد مع حضراتكم ان في نسبة خصم للشركات اللي في محافظات، ومحافظة اسكندرية هيكون في نسبة خصم عن التكلفة اللي هي 6000 للشركات اللي هتسجل معانا في البي سي كيو اي. شكرا لحضراتكم.
شكرا نرمين. ويعني بنعتذر تاني على الإطالة، إن احنا أخدنا دلوقتي أكتر من ساعتين، بقالنا ساعتين و10 دقايق. إن شاء الله بإذن الله نلتقي في أحد الإيفنتات الأخرى من اللي بينظمها المجلس فيما يتعلق بتنمية الصادرات. وشاكرين لحضراتكم. اللينك موجود على صفحة المجلس على الفيسبوك، تقدروا ترجعوا لها في أي وقت. شكرا جزيلا ومع السلامة.